Hi there, welcome to Floating in Dreams. This is going to be my eyeshadow palettes revisited. Welcome to everybody watching today. Thank you so very much for joining me. In this video that I like to do once a month, I go back to some older eyeshadow palettes that I love, and I sort of reassess, do I still love these? Are these still favorites? And if you know me, then you know that I have selected some perfect for spring eyeshadow palettes, at least palettes that I deem perfect for spring, and some of these palettes have shown up in videos like this before, so there will be no surprises here. Maybe one or two things that were selected that I hadn't selected before, but yeah, these are some really nice palettes that I played again with for April, and it's a lot of pink. Let me tell you that. It's a lot of pinks. So the first palette I played with was the Dark Cocoa palette. This is by Catrice, and I wanted to do another look with this because I wanted to film a video at the start of April with the update of all of the new Essence and Catrice stuff that came out in January. And I did test this out in my first impression video, but I hadn't used it since then. So I was like, you know what? I need to put it in this video so that for that video, before I sit down to film it and tell you about the quality of this, to see how much I like it, because that's the way I roll when it comes to reviews here on the channel. Whenever I test out makeup, I don't want it to be like a first impression. I always want to go beyond that. I want to use palettes more often, which is why I always use every single shade in a palette when I review them. And for instance, when I'm testing out foundations, I will wear it for at least a week straight before I give my thoughts. So I definitely wanted to use this more so I could let you know a little bit more about it. And I do really enjoy it. It is basic. It's a very basic eyeshadow palette, so it's not something that's super unique in my collection in any case, but it is one of the better ones from this range. And I really feel that compared to the first batch, because I did a review for the first 4 palettes that they launched in this style. Last year they did the soft peony, now they do the dark cocoa, and both of those palettes were better in my opinion than the initial batch that we had. So yeah, I'm really happy with this. It is a little bit more neutral, cool tone leaning with a little bit of like this cocoa inspired thing. We have a really nice cool tone dark brown here, some nice cooler tone shimmers. It really comes together for me. And for something really quick and easy and basic, I think this is nice. This can be good for travel as well because it is quite small and slim and therefore easy to play with. And it doesn't break the bank. It's super cheap. It's Catrice. This retails for around €5 over here. So that also means that if I lose it or if it breaks, I wouldn't be too mad about it if that happened to me. And then of course, if we say spring, we need to talk about the Nabla Soul Blooming. This is one of my favorite spring palettes of all time, and I still love it till this day. I used it again the other day because I needed something with a little bit of orange in, and this was the most orange toned stuff I had in my selection. So I went in with these 2 shades, and then I think I kept it pretty basic. I didn't go in with some of the blues on the lower lash line or anything like that, but that is a look I've done with this. Like, I've played with every single combination you can have in here, but I really enjoy the intensity of this satin shimmer over here. It's a really nice reddish tone brown that, because it has the red undertone, it is warm tone, but because of the red, it doesn't look orange on me. So that's why it still works, I feel. And very often what I like to do is that I use the peachy tones with the blues, because if you use those bluey purples with the peachy tones, they're going to look more purple because of the way the colors blend. So I've always enjoyed that. This is really pretty. This is really pretty. There are some really stunning inner corner highlights in here. A really nice dark matte brown that you can use as liner. So many great things. But yeah, because of the King's Day festivities that we were having that day, I decided to go with a slightly more orangey peachy toned look because it kind of went better with the vibes of what I needed that day. Colourpop Pretty Please. This is a stunning palette as well. This was something I bought on the recommendation of some of my subscribers. A lot of people in my comments were saying that I would probably love this, and they were absolutely right. You get a bottom row here of these like dusty purpley tones, which is the look I did because that is my favorite look in this palette. Then you have these like rosy tones in the middle and these neutrally browns at the top. Everything is a little bit cool toned, but not overly cool toned. The only thing that I think looks weird is that this, do you see that speck of white? I didn't know what it was. So when I was using the shade, I put my brush in there, but it's almost as if the way the shadow is pressed, like there's a layer underneath it. Like I thought at first when I saw it, it was just a really tiny speck of white. I was like, that's not mold, is it? So I investigated, but it doesn't seem to be. It just seems to be like a malfunction of the shadow and how it's been pressed, because it is like a little layer underneath the purple. So I'm not sure how this will fare as time goes on. It definitely expanded as I was putting my brush in. So therefore it cannot be mold because that will grow over time. But I saw that little bit of white becoming bigger as I was putting my brush in. So that's a bit of a shame, but I did really enjoy the very neutrally look I did with it. It wore really well. And you can see that this, for instance, has quite a bit of a dent. That's because these three are Super Shock shadows. So these are a creamier formula, and I feel they are a little bit harder to pick up with a brush. So, and I was using this in the inner corner highlight this time. So you can, and for some reason, sometimes whenever I use products, I have a tendency to sort of dip my brush in the same way, which is why you sometimes get these dips a little bit more easily than if you were to use it organically. Palette number 4 that I had selected for April then is the Douce by Juvia Place. And this is another really beautiful palette, but one I've used many times before in the springtime because I love this as well. It reminds me of ice cream. It's pastel, but without it being overly pastel. It has some really good shades in. I went with a look where I use this one, and then I always like using the green on the bottom lash line. I decided not to use the gray this time. I didn't want to do that one. And to my surprise, because I thought that this was just like a matte sort of thing, but this is actually a pinky duochrome. So that was perfect in the inner corner. So it ended up being these 3 shades with this as a bit of liner, and then the green on the bottom lash line. Really, really stunning look. Still love this palette. I'm so glad I kept this one around when I decluttered my eyeshadow palettes in March. And then the final look, which is what is on my eyes today. I did this look this morning to get ready for my day, and that is the Millennial Pinx from Melt Cosmetics, which I have to be a bit careful with because the shade here on the left came cracked when I bought it. So it's always been a little bit fragile, and when I opened it up this morning, there were like dusty flakes of eyeshadow everywhere surrounding that shade. So I want to be very careful and not tip it over too much. But with this, it looks very warm toned in the pink tones, right? What if I told you that's what's on my lids today is mainly this in the crease, this all over the lid, and this is on the lower lash line. And then I put this one in the inner corner, and I use this matte as a bit of liner. I mean, it works so well. I think that this is a very deceiving palette, and I really wish a lot of people loved it more. I believe it was a Millennial or a Valentine's Day release. That's what I was gonna say. So it has those pinky tones. It's a little bit more romantic. It's soft, but I really enjoy these gray tones that you get because that means you can easily deepen things up. For me, these shades really go together. It's a bit like with the Nabla, where those bluey undertone purples go really nicely with the peachy tones in there. And I feel that these grays blend really well with the pinks we get in here. So I always like doing some sort of mix of the pinks with the gray tones as accents, you can say. But if you want, you can go in with just these 3 shades and have a perfect smoky eye with this as well. So it is a palette that is deceivingly more versatile than you might think. And I wish this had gotten a little bit more loving. This is one that was discontinued really quickly, but I'm glad I still have mine. And I hadn't used this one in a while. This is one of the newer palettes in this selection, you could say. And I'm so chuffed that I actually played around with it again because I think this is absolutely beautiful and I feel great wearing this. So the Millennial Pinx is one that needs to go into my spring rotation more often. Those were the 5 palettes I went back to in April. Let me know in a comment down below what eyeshadow palettes you have been using again, because remember, it's not about the new stuff. It's also about getting the use out of the products you already own, because what's the point in having all of this beautiful makeup if you never use it more than once? It doesn't make a lot of sense. So that's why I want to continue doing this series again in May. So if you have any suggestions for eyeshadow palettes that you would like to see me use that you know I own, if you don't know what I own exactly, then maybe watch my March declutter, because that gives you an overview of all the palettes I have. Of course, I'm also getting rid of things in that, but that shows you every single palette I have. So that may be an indication of what you would like to see me do. So yeah, I'm looking forward to your suggestions because I haven't selected all of the palettes yet that I want to play around with May, because I was hoping that you would have some lovely suggestions for me for what I can play with again. So thanks so much for being here today, and then I hope to see you again very, very soon in a new video. I post 4 times a week on this channel, so I will be back quicker than you know it. Thanks for watching, and take care everyone. Have a great day. Bye bye.